Welcome to the Don't Say Cant podcast. I'm your hostess, Stephanie Carlson. I'm here with Matt Carlson.
Hi.
The husband, the jack of all trades, the forester.
Yep.
But you're so much more than that.
A little bit.
You've got so many other career paths that you've taken.
Yes, ma'am.
And life that you've lived.
A couple of them.
Yes.
My coffee's so far away.
I know. Well, you can move your phone over there and put your coffee. Oh, look, you have some space in front of the board. Excellent.
And I got the warranty on the board, so if I spill anything on it.
Yes.
All right.
So last we talked, previous episode, we talked about your time as a forester.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what you do now.
Correct.
So what else did you do after forestry ended for you?
Jiffy Lube, that fucking nightmare.
Why was Jiffy Lube a nightmare for you?
I don't know. It did teach me a lot of really backhanded life experiences.
Sure.
But it was never fun. The only part that was fun about it was experiencing vehicles. The mechanical part of it, where there was no human interaction, was the best part of Jiffy Lube.
Sure. Yeah. Do you find it hard to work with people, work with the customers?
Are they retarded?
That's not what I'm saying.
That's a valid question. Are they dumb? Are they a Karen? Are they unreasonable?
Sure, people can be unreasonable.
Then yes, no. Unreasonable people are fucking annoying.
Sure.
And that's just being honest. But no, I don't mind. It's the nature of the beast in particular industries.
Yeah. Definitely.
I have a problem being fake.
Sure.
But no, I can put on a smile and be polite to people that don't deserve it.
Yeah. Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you learn from your experience at Jiffy Lube?
Long hours.
What about long hours?
Just how to work. Like it was 13, 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
6 days a week. I would have to say that Jiffy Lube was probably the catalyst for my work ethic, because it was nonstop. It was high intensity. So I mean, it fit right there into the emergency management, and it was essentially like going to the gym every day for the lifestyle of an emergency professional.
Right. I think I recall we talked about before, maybe not on the podcast, but in husband and wife conversation, you mentioned that you worked for one of the busiest Jiffy Lube stores.
Yeah.
Around.
Mm-hmm.
I think you said somewhere around 150 cars a day, 150 cars a day versus an average store, Jiffy Lube store doing, like, and correct the numbers if I'm wrong,
like 60, 70 on a high end.
For a busy day for the average Jiffy Lube, it's 60 to 70 cars, right?
Right.
And then, but you were at a store that was doing way more than that.
Mm-hmm. We had 4 bays.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember how many bays at the local Jiffy Lube there are.
There's 3,
mm-hmm.
but they use the outside for auxiliary services.
Sure.
But the one that we had was actually a 4th bay, but we used it it was like a side storage, but that's where we also did our auxiliary services as well. But it was actual bay. So we could do everything in that bay.
Nice.
But yeah, it sucked.
It sucked. What part of it sucked? Was it everything?
Management.
Why did the management suck?
They were bosses. They weren't leaders.
Elaborate on that.
Do as I say, not as I do. Do it. I'm going to sit here and watch you work while I do nothing. Do as I say. Don't follow in my footsteps. And don't ask questions.
So what would you have liked to see in those bosses? What would have changed things for you? Made your experience better?
I don't know if it would have made my experience any better. I don't think it's fair to say that someone should change how they are. If that's how they were taught to be, then that's just part of their journey. So I can't be mad at them for the way that they taught, the way that they felt they were communicating.
Right.
I'm not justifying what they did because they were shit-ass managers, right? But I was also a shit-ass manager at one point.
But it could be that it was ingrained in you from those managers.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. But
Because
I haven't met a single person yet that had a good upbringing that was not influenced by some kind of hardship or shitty ass management position.
Sure.
Or at least in my circle of friends.
Sure. I think what I'm trying to lead you to,
Or you could just ask the question.
or I could just be clear. You do a lot of reading and research and do a lot of self-reflection on your professionalism, being a leader for your team that you have, being a good manager, and being a good leader.
Right.
You focus on those things. You look at ways that you could and can be better, not only in profession, but in personal life. So what I'm asking is, knowing what you know now, do you think that there would have been an opportunity to coach those managers or encourage better leadership?
Hindsight being 2020, yes.
Sure.
Do I say I have the skill set or the know-how to properly coach up the chain of command? No, I don't have that skill set yet.
It's very difficult.
Right. It's something that Jocko talks about. And so I haven't quite understood it to its entirety. It's something I'm working on.
Right.
So I will say from a literature perspective, there is a way to do it.
Right.
So you can definitely coach and influence your upper management as a subordinate. I don't know if I had, even today, I don't know if I would say I would try to change it. Because I know who they were.
Sure. If someone's are you saying maybe they weren't open to it?
Exactly.
Somebody's not open to it. It's hard to coach that.
Well, for like an example, just using myself.
Sure.
I'm an asshole. I'm not I'm genuinely not approachable.
Sure.
Not a lot of people want to come up to me because I always have, quote, resting bitch face, right? I always look angry. So just like people will never be able to change that about me.
Right.
I couldn't have changed him as a manager.
Yeah.
Because who he showed me he was just who he was.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's not that I couldn't have helped him.
Right.
It's just who he was.
So now that you're in a management position in this leadership role where people look to you for direction and guidance, do you think you are a better manager and leader now than you were when you were at Jiffy Lube?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's the difference, do you think? Because you're still an asshole.
Absolutely.
Right? So what's made you better?
Well, first I have to start with my leadership team.
Sure.
They lead by example. Yeah. So they take the time to let me express what I'm thinking, through its entirety. And with their time and knowledge, they can compute faster, and see things a little bit clearer than I can. So they coach versus, no, that's not right. Do it this way.
Got it.
It's okay. Well, have you thought of this? And they allow for you to come to that conclusion that maybe you haven't thought about everything.
Sure. Versus
saying, hey, no. Without giving the explanation that they hadn't thought about everything. Just saying, no, you haven't. You've said two things out of this 50 questionnaire, plan of attack. You've addressed two items. You haven't thought about this. Go away. Versus, well, I don't see you addressing this, and creating a dialogue and providing your worth in this plan. So, I mean, that changed me. I mean, it really did. It's, for once, I have a leadership team that doesn't discourage you to ask for clarification. And they also want you, they want you to fail and stumble. I shouldn't say fail. They want you to stumble in the process.
Sure.
So you can have your own growing pains. But they also, in that same step, will tell you, here, I'm here, ask questions. And a lot of times, I will say this about any good leadership team. If you go to all three of them, they will all say the same thing. That is a good leadership team. May not be the exact same words, but each one of them are going to say almost in verbatim the general goal or the best interest of whatever it is that you're speaking about.
So not only are they supportive of you, they're communicating. It sounds like there's really good communication there. Do you feel like there was good communication in Jiffy Lube?
Oh, no, not at all. It was bark orders.
Oh.
I mean, I was deemed as the drill sergeant at the local one when I had my little spin there.
Sure.
I was effective at getting things done, but it was out of fear.
Yes.
I rewarded my team. They knew they knew coming in, if I was lead that day, it's going to be a hard ass day.
Sure.
But they also knew that I was bringing coffee.
There you go.
Because I did know that there had to be a give and take, right? And so I would stop by the coffee shop, and I'm not talking like we would get like your box coffee and, cheap shit for the team. No, I put value in my team. Every morning I'd spend $67 to buy 6 or 7, 8 different, they're called 911s. They were 6 shots of coffee.
From Dutch Brothers.
Yep, from Dutch Brothers.
Dutch Brothers.
And I would buy those for the team, and I'd bring them to work, and everybody would have a 911. It was a blended drink because it was in the summertime. And I kid you not, 15 minutes later, we were turning out cars.
Oh, my goodness.
And we were screaming and yelling, and we had a good time.
Sure.
We had a good time. But if you didn't know that there was a relationship that I cultivated some level of a relationship with my team, mm-hmm. You would think I was a tyrant. Like, we had deadlines. Everything's on a time basis there. And so there's no other harder deadline than time. So
true.
So in that aspect, it's like, it's our job to be on time.
Yeah.
Fucking move.
Yes.
So yeah, it was, I really love that environment. And I love that. I love being put up against a clock.
Uh,
There's something against about it that just you thrive.
There is something about that, because at that moment it's sink or swim.
Mm-hmm.
Either you're going to swim the distance that you need to swim, or you're just going to sink.
A perfect example yesterday.
Yeah.
Before the investor showed up.
Sure.
I was given a task to hang a shelf.
Yeah.
That was heavy into drywall.
Oh.
It already fell. So we knew it wasn't going to hold.
Yeah.
The way they had rigged it up, I have never seen before. I am not a carpenter, but this did not have brackets. Okay. It was literally a heavy ass shelf that was constructed by like fucking 2x4s.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And plywood. So this was like a shove. Look, if you got hit with this, you're going to the hospital.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah.
So this is no backing, nothing.
Nothing.
About to fall off the shelf, fall off the wall again.
Yes, exactly. So I was given this task an hour and a half before our VIP showed up.
Yeah.
And I have to drill into, if anyone knows drywall, I have to, drywall is messy. So it made a mess. I cut the shit out of my hand. So now I'm bleeding on the wall.
Oh, gosh.
At one point, I looked at my clock and I think I had like 20 minutes left before they were going to show up.
Oh, gosh.
So I spent 40 minutes trying to get this thing done. I put holes in this wall. I'm like running out of fucking ideas. And I'm just like, fuck this. I've tried to do it every way that's the right way. I'm going to make sure the shit gets done and gets done now. And so it was not the way it was supposed to be done, but it got done. And it held.
Right.
No one knew the difference. I was able to get everything cleaned up, and about 5-10 minutes later, the investor showed up. And I was like, fuck yeah.
Has the shelf fallen?
I don't know. We'll see tomorrow. Haven't heard anything.
Right.
But the bosses know. They're like, I was like, hey, it looks like it's there. Don't touch it. I'm like, we'll fix this later.
Right.
And they're like, it looked good. It worked. We're going to fix it right. I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, good copy.
Yeah, exactly.
So again, you have that leadership support now that in this position that you're in, and you didn't get that in Jiffy Lube.
No. And don't get me wrong. If, Dave ever decides to hear this from Jiffy Lube, not GCR Dave.
I know who you're talking about.
If
another career lifetime path.
Yeah. So, if Dave ever heard this, he was a good leader.
Do you think Dave was truly a good leader?
Yeah. I think he was forced to make a lot of hard decisions because he has like 5 fucking kids.
Sure.
And taking care of family will heavily influence the way you make a decision, and your morals will change.
That's true.
Dave's a good person. I saw him. So, yeah, Dave was a good leader.
Good.
Dave knew what it took. And also Dave never was afraid. So Dave was the regional manager at the time. And he was also the store manager of this location that I was the shift leader at. And he knew what it took. And so he would get his hands dirty. He'd come out there and start turning out cars with us.
Yeah.
Like he would jump on ancillary services. Like he just got it done. And so he led by example. That's why we worked for him. To this day, there's still guys out there that are still part of that team.
Right. There's something to be said about a manager or leader that steps in and is willing to work right alongside you for the mission, for the goal, for the end result. Because ultimately, that's what you're all there for. You're out there trying to turn cars, making money.
Exactly.
Same thing in your current industry. You're just out there trying to make some money.
Mm-hmm.
And
we all have jobs to do.
That's right. That's right. For the mission, for the goal.
As long as you're putting the mission or winning first, you'll never do wrong.
I like that. Say that again.
As long as you're putting the mission or winning first, you'll never do wrong.
I love that. I really do that. I really do love that statement.
It came from one of our leaders.
It's a great motto.
Mm-hmm.
It really is a great motto. It brings in
and it's a
everything.
play on a really good book called The Men, the Mission, and The Men, the Mission, and Me.
Ah, gotcha. Definitely. It's such a good phrase.
I gotta make sure that's correct. It's gonna piss me off if I get that wrong. I don't want to disrespect the book. It's a great book.
So in our first episode, you mentioned that we talked about your Forest Service days, and you mentioned a lead at the time that basically almost crushed you with the tree.
The Mission, the Men, and Me. That's the proper title.
The Mission, the Men, and Me. Who's the author of that book?
Peter Blader. Blader? Blader? Or no. That's a B. Blabber?
Okay.
Pretty sure it's Blabber.
Okay.
Blaber.
Okay.
Blabber.
Peter Blabber. The Mission, the Men, and Me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll give you. Hold on. Try not to open it up. There we go. This is it's essentially. No, I won't. Just look it up. Never mind.
Yeah, it's all right. It's very, very interesting. It's how you fit into the picture.
Right.
It's how you coordinate and communicate and work with your team to reach that common goal.
Right.
So something that you mentioned before, I feel like you've always been pro your team.
My team's the best team.
You've always taken care of whomever is, in this case, your subordinate.
Mm-hmm.
You've always taken care of your team, and you never really looked at them as subordinates per se. You looked at them as...
Sorry if you hear the beeping in the background. I think there's the garbage truck or somebody outside.
Who knows? Anyway,
I've always took care of my subordinates.
You've always taken care of your team.
Mm-hmm.
Never treated them as if they were subordinates. Maybe there was a time where you were a little more aggressive, a little more of an asshole than you are now.
Oh, absolutely.
Times where you could have handled yourself better.
Yeah, I wasn't friendly to everybody.
In those moments, or maybe not in the moment, but after, did you ever feel like, shit, I could have handled that better?
Almost every time.
Really?
Absolutely.
Really? Do you have an example? I know we're running low on time here, but maybe you can provide an example of something that happened?
Absolutely. So I can't go into details, but
sure.
we talked about this off camera. So the reconnaissance that we did.
Ah, yes. Yes.
That was it was a plan with good intent.
Of course.
That was executed so poorly because we hadn't thought about other factors until we got out there and those factors came into the play. And it went sideways quickly. And I say it went sideways quickly, meaning that I lost the trust of some of my teammates. And I found out that there were some other problems going on that I wasn't aware of.
Sure.
So that would be a perfect example of how I thought something was going to go and how it backfired considerably, horribly bad. And since then, we've talked to the team and we've addressed a couple of the problems. And unfortunately, you can't undo the past.
Right.
But as a leader, I think people are going to frown upon. They're like, "Oh, you need to stop apologizing for everything." I disagree with that statement wholeheartedly. I don't think that it's a weakness. I think that until you feel confident that you've gained the trust back of your team, I think you should always have that apology and make sure that they know it's real and not fake, and just show them that, hey, you're still valued. You're super valued, and this wasn't anything against what how you feel, and we're sorry that we've caused you to feel this way, and we We just want to make it right. And so that's when you take that opportunity to listen to your team and find out how they thought about that situation and what kind of solutions they think, how you could reach the same goal, just execute it in a way that the person who had a problem with it would have addressed it.
Sure. So you were essentially coached by your team almost.
They did a great job of leading up the chain of command, but you have to be receptive to it.
You do. And I really truly believe that you're one of those people that is constantly wanting to grow and learn and better yourself in all capacities of your life.
Absolutely.
And I find that to be an incredible characteristic.
Thank you.
Incredible. Because not everybody can do that. I struggle with it. I try to be open, but sometimes when someone's correcting me, I don't always receive it right away.
Right.
But sometimes you have to process some of those things, right? I mean, you could be open to something, but you still have to process it.
If you know failure and abandonment the way I do, you will never want someone to experience it.
That's a powerful statement.
So I look at my team as my family, and I try to be as transparent as I possibly can. So
right.
When it comes to putting them first, I'll always put them first, or at least I try to. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a journey for everyone. So you need to, kind of lost my train of thought. You need to be receptive to, what they say. Listen to your team.
No truer words have been said. I think there's resources out there. People are willing to help you if you ask. And a lot of times I think that's the team, the boots on the ground, people that are actually doing the job on the front lines. Those conversations are important.
Keep talking. I'm going to pull up a quote so that way I can get it correct. I heard it the other day, and it ties into exactly what you just said. So
yeah. So it's really important to listen to your team, to get a full understanding of what the challenges are that they're facing and how and what their recommendations are for the solution too. A lot of times if you bring your team into the fold and say, hey, we got to get this mission done. We've got to get this task completed. Tell me how you think we could best do this. Even if as a leader, you have those ideas, or as a manager, you have some ideas of how things could be rolled out.
So I found the quote.
Go for it.
It says, the commander in the field is always right, and the rear echelon is wrong, unless proved otherwise. Colin Powell.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Meaning, listen to the people that are on the front lines. It's just that simple.
Yes.
The people that are directly engaged with whatever problem is at hand,
right,
have the most up-to-date and current information. Listen to your team.
That's right. The person that's processing the information, the person that's interacting with the customer, the person that you have chosen to be a representative of your organization. You should hear what they have to say. Definitely. Absolutely.
Shall we continue on to another episode?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a bit that we can discuss from you. So until next time.